When a raindrop is falling toward the ocean, there may be fear of dissolution.
You come.
I am really dying for truth. It's like I have my so many a spiritual opening, and it's like what is happening is I have a strong vasana about not being good enough. Like it is energy of the mind, and I feel space. It's like it's really beautiful. It's so beautiful and it's so simple, and somehow it is this step, this last step I really long to make is like, it's this step that I can't confirm that this is me.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
As long as you hold on to be a person, and you may become a spiritual person, but as long as you are in this state, whatever experience you have, you cannot hold on to it.
But I don't want that anymore.
Exactly. Because everything you will touch is time, because you have become time. Yourself is not consistent. That self is not the complete self. It's not the ultimate self. So don't go shopping with that self, because it will only bring back time and change. You understand? It will give you little peaks of little experience, little things, and you go, and for a while you want to have little experiences, then you've had enough of what comes and goes. How are you going to find what doesn't come and go? Then you must go beyond you, not beyond phenomena outside. You have to come to see yourself in this aspect is also phenomenal. And this is perhaps the greatest non-step step you have to take. Because we hold on to identity. I see it very clearly, actually, that we are coming from the place of identity. We are practicing even as I'm meditating, but you're still an I who is meditating. I'm getting closer. I feel it had this beautiful I is who? Everybody I, but I is who? You see? Establish your identity, introduce yourself. Who are you? Still you're wearing time. You see? Still the time person is still speaking. Then you say, but I don't know how to get out of this. You see? But this one, in a way, it is consciousness also. Consciousness is playing the game of the seeker also, and it's genuine in its own time frame. Unless you are ripe enough to come out to the next stage. If this is still strong in your mind, and many of you may be like that still, you still are faithful, loyal to this identity. So what's the best you can do with the identity? Is to keep refining it, you see. Then when it's subtle enough, you see, then it will be able to assimilate spiritual truth, more subtle things, like that. This is what the majority, this is the big river is flowing. So it is one of the pathways of consciousness, like that. It will be flowing, learning like this. Sometimes I point you like this to say, in this realm, what you must do is to acknowledge that everything you see, you say, my this, my that. And I use this example to show you that even here, unconsciously or subconsciously, you're relating to all of life as a possession and not directly as yourself. My ego, my friends, my family, my belief, my religion, my faith, my past, my future, my job, my spiritual practice, my meditation, all of this. So it is not you directly. You're speaking, so who is this I who says my? So everything that goes my and then this thing, you can leave all those alone, and then you're left only with I. Now let this I not be associated with anything now, and see what happens. then the light shines from him. This one. This is the sense I am. The sense I am, when it's not identified with the person, you see, this becomes like the light of the world, the light of consciousness. Sometimes I refer to it as the lens of the Absolute. Through the I am, the sense of the Absolute can have the taste of diversity and experience. But this is not the final thing, you see. It is one with the pure self, and it is the self. But the ultimate one is unmoving, has nothing to report. It is perfect, it's not dead. It gives birth to the I am, and the I am to the world. But when you speak, it's still a bit contaminated. I am contaminated still with identity, which is understandable because all our life we're brought up with conditioning and what you must do when you're a girl and you don't do this and you're from this, and we learn these things. And some conditioning, of course, is good also. Myself, I'm very grateful for some conditioning. Some of your background teach you how to be respectful to your elders and stuff. This is also a training for consciousness. But then at a certain point, it's mature enough to go beyond rules like now. But it moves into the realm, into the zone of love and intuition. Then it doesn't need donkey rules now. It's understanding, you see. So when you speak and say, I don't want any more of this, for a while we wanted it. For a while it was enough. A little taste of this, a little taste of that, little experiences here and there. Maybe you didn't even want it to be continuous. You want to taste all the flavors. But then comes a point now where you say, no, if it comes and goes, I'm not really interested now. Because everything is coming and going, good and bad. So then the consciousness is sufficiently mature enough now. See, now it's open to that absoluteness. As long as this sense I is there, then if it is phenomenal, the I, then it's also perceivable.
It is.
Yeah, if it is perceivable, then that which perceives it cannot be in the bubble of that I. It must be beyond.
It is.
Confirm yourself then. In this beyondness, do you have any attributes?
Attributes? What is attributes?
Do you have any qualities?
No.
If you have no qualities, then how can there be any trouble? No. Just perception arises, you see, but without quality, you cannot be defined, no. And for a little bit, still some oscillation is happening from the attention, swings in and out. For a while, when it swings in and swings out, there'll be a little confusion for a while. But now there's a changing over of power from person to presence and from presence into the absolute. This is happening. And so some things may feel a little bit bumpy for a little bit. Then you remember that bumpiness is also another phenomenon. And each time you recognize this, you're again in your absolute grace, untouched. So it's something is studying itself, confirming itself. At a certain point, there would not be any more need to confirm. You have to follow this through. You have to leave everything. When I say leave everything, I don't mean necessarily physically. I don't mean you have to leave your job and your family. Some people feel they have to do that. They must leave their job and their family to make a singular journey, become a monk and really get into these things. But I don't feel you have to do this physically necessarily, but you must do it mentally. You must learn to leave things, become more detached. Even you don't need to do it, even mentally, deliberately speaking. Just your love and your urge for this puts everything else in the shadow. isn't it? And you become fascinated with this. Just like if you really fall in love, nobody has to remind you to remember your beloved. Please, have you remembered your beloved? How can you forget? Every breath. You see, even when you're doing something, it happens in the memory of the beloved like that. So you don't have to try and get rid of anything else. You just don't even see them. Isn't it? So like this turn is happening to you if you welcome it, you see. If you don't pay attention to these things, you may still keep your ego. And your ego just wants experience. And you're just running away from life because you can't face your life. So you just want to be nothing because you can't face your life. And in the end, you just end up being a kind of spiritual ego. Even from ego to super ego even. So this thing, you have to be careful. Some genuine one here and there go through. In the bright light, in the bright wisdom. We are all that. But I have no time for time wasting. A genuine one shines out somehow. Are you that one, you see? When this was felt here in my life also, I walked out of my life. I walked out of myself, in fact. Because I never knew anything like this in the whole of my life. And I have not had a monochromatic life. Quite colorful in places. And still nothing like this had been tasted like that. And so convinced, so totally sure of it. I walked out of everything. In my heart, I walked out of everything. You see? In those days, I didn't have any money to go to Indian places like that in that time. I had to be in my town where people knew me as a teacher at college and so on. And all these changes were going on so powerfully. I didn't have the privilege to go away and act out my little craziness. Right in the town, in front of everyone, it was going on. You see? But I knew in my heart that even if everyone in the world who knew me and did not know me looked and say, "We reject you," something was strong enough to say, "That's okay. That's okay. I found something greater than all this put together." And I exchanged my life for it.
Mooji, I have the same, and I feel a tiger in me. I feel that the tendencies of my mind, and then now I just feel like a tiger, not this. Like I'm so.
If you have chosen
Yeah.
and said yes to the truth,
Totally,
then it doesn't matter if tiger come or not. It doesn't matter if tiger come or not. Because if you have chosen, if the tiger is the top of the food chain, and you say, "But what's going to eat the tiger now?" Then a little mosquito will come and bite him, and he will be finished. It doesn't matter if you have chosen truth inside your heart. You don't have to worry. "Oh, my enemy is so big." Oh, no, forget about it. But if you only shown this much, then make your stand with that much.
Sorry,
if you've only shown in your heart, only this you are sure about, then if you're only sure about this much of anything, then stand firmly in that much of it. Don't go look at what you don't know and what I need to do and leave all of this. Because the mind has spread itself very wide. And when it's like that, you must go through a very tiny opening. And everything is going to be possible for you. Don't walk alone as a person. Surrender up the person. And the power will come to be with you. And guide your way. You see. Because the only way that mind can somehow overwhelm you is when you're distracted enough to just be a person. The person is a very vulnerable entity. But as soon as you remember that you are consciousness, the powers of the mind wane. They have no power. So don't sit there going about how great the mind is. Once I was in Portugal. I'm in Portugal. I was in some Portuguese village and we stopped for coffee, and on the wall I saw a writing but I could not understand. I asked my friend what it says, and what it said is, it says, don't say to God, I have a big problem. Say to the problem, I have a great God. I thought, this is a positive way of looking at life. Don't be sitting talking about how big the mind is. In some churches you go, all they talk about is the devil. Watch out for the devil. Whoa. And the devil is coming to... What about God? Oh, him. Yeah, we're coming to him. So in the same way, in ourselves, we talk about our problems. And the more you talk about these things, the more it seems that they're real. Like that. So I've shown you now that which is, and you must make your place with that. And be anchored in that. Don't worry about 1,000 enemies are coming. Don't worry. You have the greatest support. So you stay with that. This is your training.
When a river is flowing toward the sea,